God, I've been sitting here talking without on mute. Oh my God, when am I going to figure this thing out? See, that's what I'm talking about. This is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that you all are sitting here watching me talk on mute is outrageous, right? This is outrageous that I continue to do this. But I'm not even gonna give you all the rundown. I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right into this dope ass discussion that I have with a very, very close friend of mine, Sherry Fortson. She is a really close colleague of mine that I met through the show, The Tequila Tales. And really, she's just an adventurer, right? She is an explorer. She is someone who I've always been fascinated with her mind. I think that she's fearless. I think that she's courageous. I actually got an opportunity to meet her as a result of the Tequila Tales, which is the show that I host. Again, you guys, I apologize. You know, I'm still learning the mechanics of like this particular show. So like, you know, obviously I know I was muted for a moment, but I appreciate you all for kind of sticking along. But yeah, we're about to jump into this discussion. I do not have a script. That is what is going to be fun about this particular show is we're kind of shooting from the hip. And this is a good friend of mine who our conversations always start from point A and they end somewhere in another dimension, right? And so if there was ever going to be an individual that I was going to have on this show without a script, it was Sherry. So Sherry, welcome. And thank you for being my guest host and for being patient while I obviously worked out my technical difficulties. How's it going?
It's going good. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely,
I'm live here in Chicago, and I see we got some folks in the room. Thank you so much for watching, you all. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited to see what a unscripted show will look like.
Listen, man. And so because it's unscripted, right? What we're going to do is we're going to try to get everyone as engaged as possible, right? So what's fun about Sherry, right? So I'm going to be putting a little bit of her business out in the street, but not too much. Sherry is very active in the social media space, right? And like I said a moment ago, she's a bit of an explorer. She's a bit of an adventurer. And so she's the type of individual that when she gets the inclination to do something, before she fully diagrams it out, she jumps in head first. And then she figures it out as she goes along. So Sherry has, you know, again, I'm not going to put all the business out in the street, you know, but just know that Sherry's got a few different handles and Sherry goes live. So she does this live thing, right? So that's what's going to be fun about having her on. But I want the discussion to be bigger than just she and I. I want you guys to get engaged. So regardless of what platform you're watching us through, if you are watching us, I had the ability to read your comments as you talk, right? So I'm pretty certain that already some of you guys have been saying, I can't hear you. Oh, check this out, look. And then I can also share live what you all's comments are. So I've got Casey, my partner, who's also my wife. Good evening, watching from Arizona. I have no idea where she is right now, but she's here. So just know that if you all look, we got Gerard. What's going on, Gerard? You know, so good evening to you, right? So as you all are commenting in, I have the ability to not only read your comments, but to post them and to engage directly. And so that's what I want this show to be about. And I need you all to help me do my job. Okay. And what do I mean by help me do my job? We got a show coming up next week, and it's kind of an important one. Okay. It's Juneteenth, and we're calling this show Free Game. Free Game. So I'm gonna need you all to help me determine what are going to be some of the questions and some of the topics that we're going to address in this show. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and we'll just start off by me reading the description of this particular event, and then Sherry and I will engage in this discussion. And then I'm hoping that you all that are watching virtually, and like I said, regardless of what platform you're watching from, regardless if you're the only one in the room, when you post that comment, I will be able to see it. But it says Juneteenth celebrates freedom, resilience, and the unshakable human spirit. It commemorates the day when the last enslaved African Americans in Texas were finally informed of their liberation 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. In the spirit of this profound historical moment, we're offering our own free game, a generous sharing of wisdom, insights, and practical tips for freeing your relationships from the shackles of unhealthy patterns, societal expectations, and limiting beliefs. So I normally will center the discussion around 3 main points, and then we just let the dog off the chain, right? 3 main points. 1, Can you truly be free in a relationship if you constantly seek validation from your partner? Two, how can we break free from the expectations that love should be a constant struggle or sacrifice and instead embrace joy and ease in our connections? And three, is it realistic to expect one person to fulfill all your emotional and sexual needs, or is that an unfair burden? Right? So we've got that, but then we also got just free game as a whole, right? And what do we mean by free game? Like sometimes you just know that there was something, there's a bit of information that you're holding on to where either you wish you had known it years before, or you say to yourself, man, if people knew this, they operate differently, right? Like, so I want to kind of tap into that. So even as you all are watching this, I want you all to share your free game, right? So just share what's some of the free game that you all may have that you all are saying to yourself, more people need to know this, right? So like, let's start there. So if you all are watching this virtually, I want you all to share some free game for those of us that are watching virtually and those of us that will be participating in the live event. But Sherry, I want to start with you. What's some free game that you could give the people, right? Like what's something that works for you, right? What's a tactic or a technique where you say to yourself, man, you know what? Yeah, this thing right here is like this is that lick right here. When I do this, this works.
So you want me to give all my free game out?
or just a little bit of advice, right? Like that's what we're trying to tap into.
Mm, mm, mm. First of all, what do I wish someone would know? Like,
Mm.
is that the question, or like more
Okay,
people
yep,
need to
we can
know
start
this,
there.
or am I
Mhm.
giving my flirtation tactics? I'm trying to understand. Like,
Either one, because both is free game, right? Like both is
okay,
free game.
ooh, ooh. I'm like, seriously, I feel like honestly, I don't be having game really. It's really hard because I'm awkward and quirky, so it's like there's no seducing over here. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily, but I think Casey might be able to help us out. I see a paragraph here.
All right, hold on. Let's check it out. All right, so Casey says, I think in our 20s, it may do us some good to assess our love languages and what attracts us
Mm,
to another. I was so
okay.
focused on what society said that I should be attracted to rather than realizing if I'm not highly mentally stimulated, I'll check out. Okay, that's some good game right there, right? Like really understanding what are the buttons that what are your buttons, right? And
Mm,
you are right about that, because I do think that there are some times where people do get caught up in dating the person that they think their friends are going to desire, right? Like you might like have you ever experienced that, Sherry? Like where you like a certain type of person, but you're a little concerned about how your friends and family will view that individual, like to the point where it's made you hesitate about pulling the trigger.
not pulling the trigger. See, I'm the wrong person to ask about this. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, my sister never likes my boyfriends. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? The type of individual I date, they're like usually like the dorky court. Like I don't think anybody's gonna be like, oh, yeah, that like I want that type of person. But um, as far as like realizing if you're mentally stimulated, I think that's like, I need to lean more towards that. Like she's giving out the game for real. Like instead of like going with your first initial attraction of like, for me, if you can make me laugh, like I'm
mm,
sold. You know what I'm saying? That's like free game right there. But mentally stimulated or emotionally stimulated is like important, or spiritually connected. Like those things get on the backseat. You know, when you're on a date, you're not
mhm,
even thinking about that. You're just thinking about the chemistry, like the attraction, and like is the conversation going smoothly. But you're not thinking about like, man, is he, you know, I don't know. I just don't think about all the deeper things on the first date.
mm.
But as
Okay,
far
so
as free game, I'm like, I can only think of things that have worked for like guys. tactics that have worked for me, but not
Okay.
necessarily what I've used on other men.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Okay,
So what's
that's
worked
what.
on you? That's actually better. What's
Okay.
what has worked on you?
Okay,
Because
well, but no, let's
guys that
start
are
with
watching
you.
this,
Let's start.
they sometimes
Wait, hold
they
on.
can benefit
Let's
from that.
start with you. What's worked on you, and then I'll tell you what's worked on me.
Okay, okay.
Okay, okay.
All right, all right, all right. So, okay, so for me,
Who's got like the
all right,
bait?
so for me, I think that especially in the earlier years, and this is something that's it's almost even hard to admit now. I mean, I obviously can, and I've had to grow beyond it, but I was really into assertive women early on, right? Like women that because it's wild as much as I can read and understand human behavior, right? And like what compels us to make certain decisions. When it came to me, I was always like in the dark, right? And I can't begin to tell you how many times in the past after it was too late, I've had a woman share with me how into me they used to be, right? And then would start telling me all the little subtle signals that they were giving me that was clearly flying clean over my head, right? Like I didn't see any of that, right? Like if you didn't, like you didn't have to put the signal, you had to use air traffic controllers to let me know, I come over here and get this because I and I don't know, I don't even think it was an insecurity. I think I just wasn't good at reading the subtle signs that sometimes women would show to let me know that they were interested. So as a result, I found myself drawn to women who were a little bit more assertive and a little bit more willing to like, you know, and I hate to say make the first move, like maybe not make the first move, but they were kind of bold where they would kind of put it out there. Like, I like you, or something like that, And we had a show 2 months ago where a woman asked about that, where she was like, "How do men feel about that? How do men feel about women that make the first move?" Because what she said was that from her experience, even being old school, she was always castigated whenever she did that. And men would tell her, nah, 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 you're not supposed to do that. I'm a man. I'm supposed to be the one to make the first move. And so that kind of caught me off guard because I'm like, listen, I come from the school where we love it when a woman chooses. You know what I'm saying? Like when she lets you know that she's feeling you, right? Because, as a dude, it can get a little, it's hard, especially like if it's a group of y'all, right? It's 3 women. I don't know any of y'all from Adam. And I see y'all, and don't let 2 or all 3 y'all be attractive. Truth be told, any one of y'all could potentially get it. You see what I'm saying? But one of you all are feeling me when I approach. But y'all are also sitting back waiting to see who I'm going to choose. And if I choose the wrong one, it's like womp, womp, womp. You know what I mean? And like, that's why sometimes it becomes a little bit easier if a woman can have, I'm not saying she got to be the one to holler, but if they can be a little more assertive in making their interests known. You see what I'm saying? So for me, having on the horse blinders and not being able to see it, that was a little game of what will work on me, was them being a little more direct, and I don't know if that's because I
And
got
what's direct? Like, hey,
uh
want to go grab some coffee? Like, is that like, what do you mean? Like, they ask you out on a date? Do they give the number? Do they?
so in the early stages, sometimes I've known certain women that just had a way of playfully suggesting things. Oh man, we should do so and so and so and so.
Okay.
And then of course, because I thought she was fine, I'm gonna go along with whatever's being suggested, And then there's a point where it's like, oh, okay, once I know you're interested, I'll grab the full reins. But a lot of times I think I was trying not to be the creep, and because I can have good friendships with women, I never wanted them to feel that I was taking advantage of our friendship, right? And to the point where it's like, oh, I thought we was gonna be good friends, and here he is trying to holler. So it was always kind of delicate. As I matured and social media came into play, women would slide in the DM sometimes, right? And they might not be direct, but they would normally try to hit you with that business. Man, you know what? I noticed that you do some so and so and so and so. Man, I kind of like that. Man, we should probably have coffee or whatever. because I'm an artist too, and blah, 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 blah. And I later found out, like, oh snap, that's a little bit of game that women will do.
That is game. That is game.
They'll pretend like it's business. You know what I mean? You ain't got nothing to do with no business. All right. So now with you, so what works? What works on you when guys do this, or when they've done this? This kind of got you like, okay, I see you. I'm feeling you.
Yeah. So back in my like naive days, I started noticing that, like, for me, like, if a guy starts innocently touching, the innocent touches, like
Mm-hmm.
the shoulder, and like the little slight jabs when they're joking. I'm really conscious about touch because I found out that's a good opener. Like towards like the end, now you've been touched in different friendly ways to the point that like at the end of the night, like I'm like ready to get kissed or whatever. I'm more relaxed. But like I don't do hugs, I don't do anything like that anymore, because I'm like, if I'm just playfully touching with a guy, like now it's like no longer playfully touching it. You know what I'm saying? So I just know that works on me. That's free game. That's really free game out there for y'all.
Okay. So touch works. All right. Now see,
Touch
that's
works.
good
Yeah.
to hear, because that lets me know that I wasn't messing up back in the day, right? Because that is something that I would do, and I, I don't even
Wait,
think
what?
I
What you
knew.
mean with something you would do?
The touch, like, and it wasn't aggressive,
Right.
but I started to know, because I'm naturally an affectionate person,
Right.
and there will be times where if we're vibing, I you know what I mean? But it wasn't done as a tactic for flirtations, because, and even though I don't believe in saying pause, this is a bit of a pause moment. I would do it to men also, right? Because touch can be disarming sometimes, right? And it can, when you're doing certain things, it does at times. You got to be delicate when you do it. Like I wasn't just, because some people are just overly touchy feely, right? Where you just like, man, get off me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you ever know that person where they be a little too much with it, because dudes can do that with other dudes sometimes too. And so you got to be careful with it. But there are times where it's like, if you are vibing, um, the touch can signify a bit of closeness or whatever. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So okay, all right. So I
And
have
there's like
a little bit of game.
escalation to it as well. I see we got a comment. Somebody's giving up free game. Let's see.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Casey active tonight. I think staying out of my friend's business, primarily their relationships, as long as it's not abusive, is top tier advice. Okay, all right. Now I'm a double down on that, because that is true. That is true, and I do think that. Okay, so now that's a good question. Uh, Sherry, how are you when it comes to uh, how do I put this?
How are you gonna put this?
how
Staying out
how
people's friend
involved are
business?
you? How involved are you with your friends' relationships? Do you have the kind of friends that share tea about their personal relationships?
Or it's a little too much business sharing in my friend group. Um if anybody got some advice on how to, like, if somebody's opening up on about their business and how to get it shut down, let me know, because I feel like I just have that face or like that vibe that like people just want to open up about their problems, about their relationships, about whatever's going on in their life. I have like that therapist calm aura or something. But
Hmm.
lately I will agree with that, because like, especially if your friends are consistently dating, and so it's like a new guy after a new guy after a new guy, and then to the point where you're like, okay, let me know when y'all actually secure 1 year relationship, not this months of dating rotation, because it's making me start to look at you funny. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Unless, because it's always like, when I listen to my friends' problems, it's always the guy who's done something wrong. You know what I'm saying? And then I feel
Interesting.
like there's always two sides of the story. And if I'm seeing
Hmm.
like a pattern of just like men walking in and out of your life, like I start to think like maybe there's something deeper, you know what I'm saying,
Mm.
than what you're sharing. Because like in your friend group, they're never gonna really share like what's really going on if they got like any sexual issues, God forbid, or something like that. They're not going to share that part. They're just going to share, oh, he cheated on me, you know what I'm saying,
Right.
or something
Right.
like that. So I don't know. Why? I mean, why is it important to stay out of your friend's business? Is my question. Is it because it's for your sanity? Is it for to stay out the drama in case something happens where you say something, and then it gets back? I don't know. What's the reason behind it? Is my question.
Right. Okay. So listen,
Okay, what?
and this is my partner right here. You know what I'm saying? So she active. Listen,
We
y'all.
needed to bring Casey up here.
I know, right?
We should have brought her up here.
She gonna be one of my next guests. Listen, you guys, if you all are watching, regardless on what platform you're on, if you make comments, you guys can engage directly inside the discussion. But Casey, my friend once had a really crappy guy she was dating, and they got engaged. He wasn't abusive, just an ass. I was vocal about how I felt about our friendship. I'm sorry. I was vocal about how I felt, and our friendship ended. They eventually divorced, but I vowed never to get involved in their relationship and just be happy for them if they are happy. Hey, listen, I, I, it happens, right? Because you can easily become the culprit, right? Like it becomes like you now. That could be a bit of a double-edged sword too, right? Because I've had friends that they feel like it's their duty to tell you how they feel about certain things. Or here's a question for you, Sherry. If you saw, like, and let's say a good friend of yours, they're in a relationship, with a guy, and they're always, kind of happy about him, and you saw that guy out with someone else, and you couldn't 100% tell if it was like romantic in nature or if it was platonic or just what the dynamic was. Do you say anything about it? Like, do you just zip your lip and just pretend like you didn't see it? Or when you're having a conversation with your friend, do you try to like casually slide it in, like, oh man, I saw Larry the other day? You know what I'm saying? Like how would you handle that?
Man, you put me on the spot. I feel like if my friends were to see this, they'd be like, "You better tell me. You
Right,
better."
right.
But see, I would need more information,
Mm,
and I'm conflict avoidant, so maybe that
okay.
has to do with it a little bit because like I'm not. I don't know. It really depends on the relationship. I'm really thinking about it because I was like, I'll tell like minute details about somebody that they like, not even boyfriend. I'll tell like, "Ooh, I just found out some tea on the dude that you like, that he might have had 3 girlfriends, at this workplace or
Hmm.
whatever." And she's like, "Dang, did you get their names?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't do all the detective work." You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to like someone's man, I feel like that's a little dicey because then how is she going to approach her guy about it? Oh, my friend says she saw someone that looked like you. You know what I'm saying? With a woman, like,
Hmm.
because unless I would have to confront him. You know what I'm saying? Hey, so and so, what are you doing out here? Where's
Mm.
Susan? You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
so
I
wait
would
a
have to
minute.
do
Is
that.
that how you would handle it? So okay, because I said that in the
Yeah.
onset that you're the type where you are a little fearless in your interaction with people and you're not afraid of
Right. I would have
asking
to approach
questions.
him. I'm not just gonna say, "Why he may have been with this girl, but I couldn't tell if it was a business meeting."
You say
You
you
know what
don't
I'm
know
saying?
because you about to go over there and find out. You about to go over there, pad and pen. Like, hey, so how y'all know one another is what I'm trying.
No, I wouldn't say all that. No, I think it's just natural. You just come up and be like, "Hey, so and so, how's it going?" And he's like,
Mhm.
"Hey," and you just stare at him for a little bit, and
Mm.
and then she's like, "I'm so and so," like just make it kind of awkward. But
Right,
that's
right.
that's as far as and then that's just a regular conversation. Hey, I had a fun day today. I bumped into your guy. He was out.
Mm.
I wouldn't say like I saw him with another woman. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. Uh,
That's a little. That's jumping into
yeah.
conclusions.
And I totally get that. And I think that there was once a point where I was like staunchly against that altogether. I do understand that there's like levels to it. I think one, it would depend on the kind of relationship that I had with the friend. And two, how damaging I think the advice could be, right? And I know that that sounds like I said, I don't think it's a one size fits all. I am someone that tries to allow relationships to be as autonomous as possible, you know.
What
And
do
I,
you mean by how damaging the advice could be, though?
man, just in the sense of, um, I would have to weigh what I thought would be the benefit of giving this information, right? And what do I mean by that? Like, have you ever found that there are times where you think you putting somebody up on something, and as it turns out, they already know about that thing through and through, right? And so, in essence, all you're doing is just injecting yourself in something that really had nothing to do with you, right? And so, like I said, I think it would kind of depend on the individual and not only the kind of relationship that I had with them, but you know, in terms of how damaging, like maybe not sharing the information could be. You know, if this is somebody they're thinking about getting married, and maybe they got some business, and the business is doing well, and I'm trying to help them protect their assets. Like, are you sure that this is the person that you want to be with, right? And like how close I am with like I said, that friend. And I know it seems like I'm kind of trying to dodge it, but to the point of what we just already said a moment ago, like there's there's a high probability that I'm just making their world uncomfortable, and now they feel uncomfortable around me. You know what I'm saying? And so while I thought I was helping them, in all actuality, all I did was damage our relationship. Because sometimes when you give people information that they don't want to know, they're not like appreciative. Oh my God, thank you for that, to the point where they are about to go and change their behavior as a result. You know what I'm saying? Now all you did was just made them aware that you are aware of some chink in their armor, and their inability to be able to be transparent with you just leads them to now wanting to no longer be around you, right? Because they feel shame because you know about this little thing that maybe they've accepted, maybe they're actually cool with, right? Like, because sometimes people are actually cool with certain things, but they just didn't want to openly share it with you. You feel what I'm saying? Like me sharing with you that, oh yeah, I know, oh no, me and we're in an open relationship. Like that's not the kind of thing that you broadcast to someone, but it may be a reality of your relationship. But the moment that I inject myself into your personal matters, I now have to bear the brunt of like now I'm a part of your shit. You know what I'm saying? And like that to me is where it can get a little dicey, when I'm now injecting myself into your relationship matters. And it may not end with just, hey, I saw X, Y, and Z, like you said a moment ago. Like now it may be like a full-on unloading of a bunch of additional baggage. And I can't just be like, hey, no, I was just letting you know that no, bro, you injected yourself in my stuff. So now I'm about to unload on you. And me being the type of person I am, like, am I ready to deal with the full weight of whatever that emotional burden may be? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I meant by when I'm like, depends on how damaging the information is, especially if I don't know 100% what it was that I saw. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I just look like I'm out here, oh man, I saw your girl with, you know what I mean? Like now you just like a
Yeah.
messy dude. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. If someone in the look, somebody in the comment. So I don't know. You have to give me some context on that, Patsy. Like, did I say something wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. I'm trying to. People say mind the business that pays you, like that type of thing. Like, if I thought it was a situation where someone was going to, like really be out there or be in a super negative situation, then yeah, I for safety or to protect my friend, I am going to do that. But I don't know, man. I don't know. There's so much about this relationship space that I don't see as black and white. I always see it as gray. And so sometimes you got to be careful. You got to be careful when you are injecting yourself in other people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't there's a lot of other elements that you don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I try to be sensitive to that, and not to protect the dude or the woman that may be cheating, but honestly to protect the person that I'm about to share this information with. You know what I'm saying? I try to be mindful of that. And I know that sounds like I'm uh uh I don't know. Casey had another comment. She said it depends on the friend. My friends and I talk about this. One friend definitely wants to be told. At least that's what she says. Other friends actually say, don't tell them. Either they know and don't want to be embarrassed, or it's not what I assumed it was. And now it's weird when I'm around. So I try to talk to my girls about this beforehand. That's actually kind of mature, right? Like that may be worthy of a conversation, right? Like what do you want to know? Do you want to know about this? Is this something that you care to know about? Like, would you care to know about that if your significant other was out, like and someone saw it? Is that some information that you want to know?
Oh yeah. I
Oh,
mean, I don't know anybody personally. I don't know anybody who wants to shield themselves from the truth. I have difficulty talking to people who kind of just wants to be told lies, you know what I'm saying? Just to play along. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to describe it. I know ignorance is bliss,
right.
but is that really true happiness? Um I feel like knowledge is power. I don't know. I'm using like
No,
language,
no,
but
no. But that is interesting though, because okay, so to dig deeper, uh, so to go a little bit deeper inside of ignorance is bliss, what do you consider ignorant, right? Like, and how much do you want to know? Because do you only want to know if it looks like it's cheating, or like, because it could be you saw him making a comment under someone's post that you thought was inappropriate, you know what I'm saying? Or you saw him liking
oh, like that
posts
stuff.
that you didn't agree with, that you kind of feel like, I don't think that a person in a relationship should be liking this kind of content. Like, at what point do you draw the line on what you think is your responsibility to inform someone? And at what point do you draw the line and say, you know what, that's none of my business?
Okay. I feel like okay, it can get petty. Like, you know what I'm saying? It can get real petty about like, oh, I saw your man comment on this Instagram model's page. Like, what is the purpose of sharing that? Be like, okay, he liked the girl's picture, you know what I'm saying? But like at the same time, because like sometimes I'd be thinking like, well, what's the intention behind the share? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you
Right.
trying to get us start up an argument now, or like start up some insecurity issue? Um, but what I mean by ignorance is bliss. I mean like specific.
Uh-oh. Hold on, she kind of froze for a second. Sherry, I don't know if you can still see this, but your internet froze for a moment. So I am going to go back to the crowd until she gets that rectified. So, like, I mean, as I'm saying this, you guys, like, Patsy a moment ago gave me the wide eye emojis, which is hilarious, right? Because I'm not 100% certain what that means. But like, how do you all feel about that, right? Like, is that something that you want to be informed of? Do you want to be informed of what appears at time? Hey, Carol, how do you feel about, how much do you want to know about the things that you can't see as it relates to your significant other? Because one of the things that Sherry said a moment ago was, she was like, she guessed it depends on, like, what's the intention behind the individual that's sharing it. And to me, I think that that's really good, because there are times where it feels like people are sharing things, um, not necessarily for your benefit, but because maybe they are a little envious of your relationship, right? Maybe there are some elements about just you in general that the moment that they see what appears like a chink in your armor, they're quick to want to, share that. It's almost like gossip, right? Because there are a lot of people that like really get off on stuff like that. And so I think that that is something that I try to be cognizant of, even while catching information from people. So Carol says, I want to know everything. Really? Everything? You want to know everything, Carol? Right? Like, I don't know, man. Look, I'm going to be honest, man. Like, there have been periods where I've done long distance dating, and got Sherry back. There have been times where I've dated long distance, and I'm gonna be honest, man. When I've dated long distance, I made it clear I don't want to know what you are doing um, outside of me until it gets to the point where you would rather focus on that other person. Like once it gets to that point where what we're doing right now you no longer want because you want to focus in on it, that's when I need to know about it. But just like random things here and there, I don't know. Like I am one of those people that I'm comfortable with the things that I don't know. And I think largely because I think I know a lot, right? I think I can sense a lot. I think I can tell when you and I aren't exclusive. And if I'm comfortable with that, then that's the zone that we're operating in. You know what I mean? Like, um, I'm not the type that's going to go through your stuff looking. You know, I feel like that's how most people operate sometimes. Maybe they don't go searching directly, but they're always curious. If I'm happy, I'm happy, right? I'm not the dude that's trying to see, you know, what goes into the hot dog. You know what I'm saying? Like some people, man, do you know what's in that you eating? Listen, I know it ain't healthy. I don't need to see an ingredient breakdown. You know what I mean? Because at that point, I might not like it, and I may never be able to eat this again. You know what I'm saying? And I know y'all are like, well, see, that's what I'm. But I feel like okay. Here's another deviation from that. Um, how do you all feel about this access that we have to people nowadays that we didn't used to have? That as a result, it now makes it hard to like people that you used to like, right? Like you used to be able to love that artist because you love their music, but now I can no longer appreciate just your art form because if you're an asshole on your social media, I now have to factor that into whether or not I like your music, right? Like, do you all see a problem with that? Do you see an issue with how in today's world, because we have an exorbitant amount of access to people and their personal information, that now we are being forced to develop opinions about things that no one in the past ever had to? How do you feel about this, Sherry? Like, do you feel burdened by the additional information that you now have from personalities that you may like, or do you feel cool with that?
I feel cool with it. I'm
Mm.
the horrible person to ask because I'm like, shoot, I don't even follow half the people I like to listen to. Like the music that I listen to, you know, I don't even know if they got really like a big following like that. But I think you posed an interesting point about not wanting to know. Like some people want to know how the sausage is made and what ingredients, and some people don't. I think that's like a personality type in itself. Like that's a pattern. You know, some people want to investigate. You know, as someone mentioned in the chat here. You know, it just depends on how investigative. We got some detectives and some people who, you know, are just go with the flow. I'm a go with the flow type of person. But I do know there's a bit of a burden specifically on men. Like if you're doing social media and then you're doing online dating, like those two apps got to connect. And so like I think there's a bit of a burden because I think women like I think we got our social media for the most part okay, but like men, it's like what are y'all posting? You know what I'm saying? I don't know what y'all posting. Are y'all posting your outfits? Outfit check. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't know what it takes to really make a good profile for a man. Like you showing your, I don't know. I
Listen, you got to let me know because I wouldn't know. Like
you would
what
know
are the
your
things
social
that you
media.
like? What are the things that you would notice? Because you know what, I actually have a couple of friends. Actually, most of my close friends, pretty much all the gentlemen that I had on last week or the week before last, none of them, all of them have social media handles. They seldom ever post. I'm talking, you can probably count on one hand the number of times that they post a year.
But
And
that's a good look for me. But some people they might be
oh,
like, well, why are they not posting? You know, that's
right.
they trying to hide some. I don't know.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the space that we're in a little bit, right? Where there's almost an expectation of that. There's almost an expectation that
You
you
think
will
so?
share things. You said what?
You think so? Do
Well,
y'all expect us to post?
okay, I'll put it like this. I think that if you're with someone, they want you to post them. They definitely want to be posted. Okay. And even if you're not a person that posts much, if all of a sudden you're with them, because they're looking for that public, affirmation, right? Like, and for it to be known, hey, we are together. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that you got to go out of your way to be like secretive, but some people are just like pretty private in nature, and I know that there have been times where that has created, some discord inside of relationships because of the fact that it feels like this individual is being extra secretive, you know what I'm saying? Like with sharing me to the world. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
especially if you're doing long distance. Like I don't do long distance. I've done a long distance before, and you are. I mean, that's all you have is this virtual world because there's no physical distance. I don't know. So, but if you guys are in the same city, I don't see. Hmm.
You don't see what? Why
I
there?
don't know. I haven't been in the dating scene in a while, so it might. So that might prove a little bit of difference. Like as far as like I'd be like I ain't really got no game. You know what I'm saying? I ain't really be out here looking at people's social media profiles. You know what I'm saying? In the house like a good girl.
Now, Carol says, when I was dating, I would ask if I could post you before I did it. Okay, so
Mm.
Carol, that's dope, and I think that that's game. So thank you for the free game. Now I want to ask you a question. If the person that you were dating had a problem, did that bother you? Right? Did it bother you if they was like, oh no? I mean, maybe not even that aggressively, right? I mean, if the walls were coming down, like, okay, so quick sidebar. I don't know if y'all ever see these reels, and maybe not, because I follow a couple ratchet pages, but there's always these reels of like how it don't matter what a guy is doing. The moment that a woman gets a hold of their phone, they are just like, it's been dudes in like hospital beds. They got on like the full hospital garb, and the woman got their phone, and this dude got up, took off down the hallway, and was chasing her down the street to get that phone, right? So, I mean, that's obviously ridiculous, and that's hyperbolic. But how would you feel if the person that you asked, if they minded you posting them, if they did have an issue with it? Like, I mean, obviously you were respected, but would it then kind of alter how you felt about them, even if they weren't dating someone else, if they just were kind of like a private person? Do you just say, oh, okay, no, I respect that? Or in the back of your mind, do you kind of feel like, damn, if I can't be public with our adoration, it kind of downgraded in your head? Okay, she goes, no, because I don't like to be posted unless I'm posting it. Oh, okay, all right, well then that's fair. See, and this is why I like engaging people, right? Because you start to realize that people are a lot more sensible than it comes across. Because if you was like, oh yeah, I have an issue with that, then someone could say that that's hypocritical. But you acknowledging like, no, I wouldn't have a problem with it because I can be the same way. Hey, I'm
My
with you.
my question is, why is it important that your relationship is posted about on social media? Why do you need to go public in that way? Like to
So,
me, like a wedding band is
mhm.
like that's enough. You know what I'm saying? That's like going public. That's like letting everybody know. But like I feel like this is like the new wedding band. Like posting a profile picture with you and your boo. Y'all not even not in a relationship. Y'all just start in probably in the honeymoon stage. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So what is the importance? What's the significance? What's the meaning behind it? Um, you want to let everybody know how happy you are.
Okay,
You
so I
want to
think there's
stake
that.
your claim on them.
I, okay, so if we're being honest, to me, I feel like a large portion of the time it's got more to do with that part, right? Like it's like social media has kind of warped the way that we interact and our dopamine triggers. And it's to the point now where I think that sometimes you can feel a little inadequate. I think it's born initially when someone is in a space where they don't have that thing that they desire. And then you hop online and you see the people that have it, it appears that they're flaunting it, right? And so inside of you, I remember a good friend of mine, she goes, she used to say, oh man, she said, I don't mind about when people be always talking about their husband and be putting it in people's face. She said, because if and when I get married, oh, my husband, y'all to death. And that just tickled me because I didn't even consider her to be that type of person, but she was very transparent in the sense of, oh, when it's my turn. And I think that that's what it is, right? It's almost like, okay, I've endured when everybody else did it. And I was the good Samaritan and I would like and love their post and kind of congratulate them. So when it's my turn, I'm going to want that same round of applause. I'm going to want that same love that I was dishing out. I do think that there is a bit of that kind of goes into it, right? It becomes like a validating metric. And so when it's finally your chance, you desire to let the world know, hey, I'm here now and I'm taken, or I'm here now and I'm desired. I think that is what sits at the core. But the flip side of that, I do think that people don't really perceive it to be a problem unless it is a deviation of your natural behavior. So if you're the type of person that posts everything, right? You share the minutest of details of things that's going on in your life, but then all of a sudden when it comes to me and you've been giving me all your attention, you pillow talking me, you telling me all this special stuff, but then you're going out of your way to hide me when you share everything else, all your other personal business you putting out there. When it comes to me, now it's a problem. I can understand that being problematic to some people. I can, I'm not beyond understanding of that. And that's why I asked how a person would feel if you felt like I asked you to share and then you declined it, right? Because I can understand sometimes the concerns that, okay, what am I then? What am I to you? Are you embarrassed about me? Am I a sneaky link? You know what I'm saying? Do I think I'm more than I actually am? So I'm not going to pretend like I don't get that, right? I try to be open and I try to be understanding of that. So
Well, I'm bringing it up because, like, when Casey mentioned earlier about the free game about staying out your friend's business, primarily their relationships, you're inviting people into your business as soon as you post about your relationships online. Now people asking you, like, I see you haven't posted him in a while. Is things going on? How's so and so? Like, they're checking in, and it's like this person online has never met you guys as a couple. They just know you. You know what I'm saying? So you're inviting people into your business when you do that.
yeah,
Anytime you post, just
and I do concur with that. And I think that that's why in the early stages, I used to be away from it because it felt like I'm giving you access. And I don't care what people say, man. Like, there's no way that I can give you access and not be influenced by your feedback. Now, it may not influence me to the point where I'm going to completely deviate and change my course, but I'm not going to act like you can't say something that sits in the back of my mind, right? Like if
now
you
now now somebody says, now they're gonna say, I did see your boyfriend or your girlfriend out. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a picture of them.
right. Now they looking. And misery loves company. That's something else that I've also determined. And that's why I was saying earlier to kind of take it back to what we was talking about earlier in terms of like, do you want to know and whether or not I would share? There are oftentimes, you said earlier that, you're always trying to gauge like, what's the intention? What's a person's intention in sharing? And I do think that there are times where people share from the purest of intentions of just wanting their friend to know so that they can be guarded against. But a lot of times, man, people do inject themselves into business that has nothing to do with them. And I don't think that the impetus is always informing you so that you can be protected. sometimes it's a misery loves company type of situation, right? Where it's like they're not happy in their life and they're almost elated to know that what looked like your storybook romance, has flaws in it. And they're relishing in letting you know, hey, this is what I saw. Because some people just like drama and stuff like that or whatever. And so I think that that's why I get a little hesitant.
I
And
mean, we all have like a little bit of that in us. Like
mm,
we like to see like somebody trip and fall. You know what I'm saying? We kind of
right.
snicker or like it's a natural emotion. Um, whoa, your cousin's on your. My cousin is on her sixth marriage, and posts each one like it's the first. I have a hard time buying into the authenticity of when super happy couples post on social media. The happiest ones I know in real life are relatively off the grid, too busy being happy.
Mm. That's a bar. That is a bar. How do you all feel about that? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, when you see someone
Mm,
post, do you believe it? Do you take their word for it? Do you take it as the gospel, or are you the skeptic? Are you a little cynical?
am I skeptic?
Mhm.
Well, I used to be the person who would post like that's my start on Instagram. Actually, I used to post about my relationships
Mm,
because I was super happy about it. Like, oh, I got I'm traveling with them. This is my vacation. So I don't really think I was unhappy posting about it, but I will say it does take you out of the moment of happiness. So whenever I
mm.
see somebody post, like I know what all involves. Like you have to whip up your camera mid dinner, show off the food, show you're smiling, show him. He might have been like mid conversation or doing something else. Now he's got to
Now he
like
got to
perform.
perform.
Yeah, so I know it's a performance. I'm not gonna say that they're
Right.
unhappy, but um, I just know that sometimes like you're just picking the thing that will draw the most attention, and like relationships is such a good attention getter. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's a good talking point. Like I don't know, we're all performers at the end of the day when we're on social media. So
A little
it's
bit,
just
right?
interesting to see what people pick to perform at.
Mm. And again, like I said earlier, I'm someone that I have to be honest. Uh, that I know that while you may not change me, I know that I am susceptible to feedback. I actually think that that's one of the things that makes me effective at my job is that I can see all points. And so, unless it's just something that's absurd, it's very few points that I just look at and just say, "Oh no, that's BS." I'm going to absorb it. I'm going to absorb it. I'm going to dissect it in an attempt to figure out if it is credible or not, right? But just the very fact that I've taken it in says that it can in fact influence me, right? Like, so I'm posting something, I'm posting a lot of stuff about myself and it's taking off and people are loving it. Okay, great. The dopamine is going to make me feel good. But what happens if I start posting it a couple of weeks from now and all of a sudden, them likes and them comments start to die down? Okay, do I just say, oh, whatever, I was just sharing it, or am I going to admit that I noticed that first one got 400 likes, and now all of a sudden I'm down to 200. Did I post it at the wrong time of day? Like, I feel like anytime that I've even brought this up inside of events, people are not honest about the fact that they notice who's watching and who's not, right? People make it seem like they are really able to just share, and maybe they are, and maybe this is just me making my truth and my reality someone else's truth and their reality. But I find it hard to believe that you post something on a social platform that is meant for feedback and meant for engagement, and you get no engagement, and you're okay with that, right? Like, then why are you posting if you don't care if anyone engages? Then why wouldn't you just keep that picture in your phone, right? Like, what was the point of posting it if it was not for me to like it? Why are you intentionally sharing things that you really don't care if I give a damn about? what's the purpose of posting it? Like, I don't know. So that to me is where the logic kind of evades me a little bit, and I call BS. I don't believe that people are as, gated off as they like to believe they are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you like to know that people like the things that you share. And
And
if
it's
they start,
okay. It's okay. We all have
I think
things
that's
that we like
okay.
this year. And I bet you by the sixth marriage, her social media, like she's an expert at her social media game, you know what I'm saying, for relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
She knows
right,
what to post, what's gonna get the highest engagement, what to leave out, you know.
right. No, no, I can imagine that. So, any more free game? Anyone that's watching, any more free game? Right? Like, I'm trying to, figure out, because, like I said, I think that this next show is going to not only obviously be about, the points that I have brought up, but just little tidbits of how, like I said early on, like things that you feel like either you wish you had known, or just things that you wish you could share with people. Like, you know what, man, y'all need to stop doing this. Or here's some free game. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you all, if you all share it in the comments, I can share it with the people as we wrap, right? Because I do think that we are in a space, especially inside of social media, where I'm starting to see some patterns, and I think that there's some conversations that people are not having right now, and it feels like we're getting closer to having authentic conversations between men and women specifically. I think a lot of people are lonely, and they are seeking deeper connections with people, but it's difficult to do on platforms where engagement is founded upon discord and disagreement. You know what I mean? And so, like, one of the things that I've been talking about is, and I kind of even addressed this in the last show that we had, in terms of whether or not women actually desire to desire for men to share their emotions, and whether or not that's like a real thing. I feel like it sounds good, and a lot of times people say that they do desire that, but the reality of it is what they were hoping for was that a person would say the thing that they wanted them to say. And when you ask people for their thoughts, when you ask people for their feedback, when you ask people, I want you to share your emotions, it's like you have to be ready and prepared for them to potentially share something that you don't want to hear. And are you really ready for that? Are you ready for the information that you really did not want to hear? You know what I'm saying? And you have to be honest with yourself, because if it's not something that you can accept, then do you need to hear it? This goes back to even what we was talking about earlier, in terms of like you wanting to know those hidden things about your significant other that maybe they don't share outrightly. Are you ready for whatever it is that that person shares? If they share some emotion, if they break down in front of you, can you really openly accept that, and move forward? Or is it going to alter or augment the way that you see them? You know what I'm saying? Like, can you still see them as the leader, as the strong person, if they have a weak moment, around you? If a man shares that in the past, he was in a relationship with a man, right? And he shares this with you knee deep into your relationship after you've kind of fallen for him. Can you accept that truth and still see him the way that you see him? Or did him sharing that truth just taint you? Right? Like, if that's not something that you can accept, then do you really need to know it? Right? Like, and again, it sounds like, oh man, because as we were talking about earlier, he was like, yeah, some people want to be lied to. And it's like, but don't we all on a level? Isn't this world a lie? Right? Like, do you really believe you will ever know absolute truth? And if you could, do you want to know it? Do you really want to know that there's aliens out there? Do you really want to know that the men in black just saved us from a calamity 2 weeks ago? Does that make you get up and want to go to work tomorrow knowing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. See, now this conversation can really spiral and get very esoteric as it relates to what is the information that you want to know. You know what I'm saying? Me and Casey were having this conversation recently where she shared about how she felt a little guilty, um, you know, and when she was breaking down her thoughts, she shared that you know, the stuff that's been going on with Palestine, I mean the Palestinians and Israel, that in recent weeks she felt like she hasn't been as tapped in as she should. And I had to tell her, like, babe, I actually think that was smart. Like, I've been knowingly turning that down right now. And she was like, she saw it from a space of, yeah, but that's part of the problem. But my thing was, what can I reasonably do here in Phoenix, Arizona, that solves a conflict that's been happening for 70 years, right? And as much as I don't intend to be ignorant about it, I also don't believe that rooting myself in pain constantly makes me effective in these areas that I can influence, right? So I'm going to ignore all these areas around me, these problems that I actually do have influence over, because I'm so immersed in the world's problems that I realistically don't have the bandwidth or the control, the capacity to be able to actually alter what's happening, right? I mean, yeah, I can determine who I want to vote in X, Y, and Z, but beyond that, I don't need to be immersed in this pain on a day-to-day basis and think that somehow this information benefits me, right? It benefits me to know about how many kids lost their lives over there today. All that's going to do is just become a burden on my mental health. And like I said, now it's affecting the way that I not only experience this life that I'm living, but the way that I influence the things that I can influence. And it's just my personal perspective, right? Like, this isn't for everyone, but this is how I feel sometimes about information, that you have to be responsible with it. Not only what you share, but acknowledging what you believe you can accept. And if I'm not in the space where I can do that, right? Like, to this day, I still ain't watched Precious. I just it's not a movie that I feel. It wasn't a movie that's like, ooh, I need to watch Precious because this is gonna help my world. Like, I heard it was some incredible performances that was in it, but everything that I saw and what I knew about the movie, I was like, that does not feel entertaining to me. That I don't see that benefiting me in any tangible way, right? And I mean, I don't know, but this is my perspective.
You gotta watch Precious. You gotta watch Precious.
What?
I mean, I don't think
Why?
it's as what. I
I
don't
said
think it's
why?
as distressing as people have made it sound. I'm saying is not. Uh, sorry.
What, you
I
just think
think
it's
the
like?
general consensus I got from the room is, truth be told, like what you just summarized, which is, what information can you accept? What information are you willing to share about other people's business? It's like, that's what the information I got from this um is ignorance bliss, like, it's more of an information sharing thing. Or should you share your relationship on social media? Like, my vote is no, but what I'm saying, as somebody who's done it several times, it's really embarrassing. Like you said about the sixth marriage, it's even more embarrassing when you're sharing relationships that never even got to the point of marriage. What I'm
Right.
saying, it's just like, you're just, now we know every ex-boyfriend you have or ex-girlfriend you have. um I don't like the relationship history being known so much.
Mm.
But yeah, I think we just got to, like, truth truth be told, like, whose truth are you telling? What appears to be the truth? What is truth? Can you accept? Do you want to know the truth?
Mm-hmm. Right. You can't handle the truth. That was one of the
I
dopest
thought it was gonna be some game, though. I was really hoping for y'all to give us
shit.
some tips.
Maybe that's the game is can you
Oh,
handle the truth? Can you honestly handle the truth, right? Because there was a gentleman by the name of Kevin Samuels, and he was sharing his truth, and there were a lot of men that agreed with what it was that he was sharing, and all he was met with was vitriol from a greater majority of people. And yes, he may have been, a little brash and, his delivery. But the ultimate conversations that get had sometimes, I always feel like anytime that there is a disagreement, it turns into like, and this is on both sides, this is men and women. There's almost an inability or an unwillingness to really try to put yourself in another person's, or to see something from another person's perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll 100% agree, but have you really put forth the effort to attempt to see why they feel this way, right? Because I think that there's growth there. And I think that we live in a day and age where we kind of want to live in a silo. And social media makes it so easy to do that, because once the algorithm realize that you like this thing, that's all they're going to serve you, and they're either going to serve you that or the polar opposite of that thing, so that you can start, the back and forth. But very few people take an opportunity to like really see it from another perspective. And I feel like that is what is creating even a little bit of the disharmony between sexes right now. I mean, and there's always been disharmony, but it's just fascinating that in this day and age of technology, where information is supposed to be shared the way it is, that we find ourselves in this space where it feels like we're actually being drawn further apart. You know what I mean? From like the simplest of conversations. It's like I saw something recently where somebody was like, I bet you can't tell me one opinion that somebody doesn't agree with online, or something like, or that has nobody disagreeing. And it was something silly that the dude said in behind that, but it really does make you feel that way sometimes. Like what is, and I, oh my God, that's so annoying to me. That I think that is like, even just with the Caitlin Clark situation right now, like that's the conversation that's going on right now, that's got social media like in a blaze. And it's fascinating to me. And I think I see it in a way that most people don't see it. Right. And that can be frustrating to me, to just be like, man, like people jump on a topic and there's just like this inability for us to be able to have these discussions and even just have like a debate. It always feels like it's a fight. Like every little thing turns into this battle, of I don't know. But I think that it is slowly wearing people down, and it makes me wonder what's going to be the end result of it. Does it turn into where do we all just at some point lose a taste for social media, where we're just like, I mean, I feel like that can happen, but maybe not, you know what I'm saying? Because it's so ingrained in just the way that we communicate and stuff now, where it won't go away. But I'm like, either we pull back from it, or it continues to destroy just common interaction between men and women. And that, I think that's why on a personal level, it kind of means something to me. And I find myself taking these arguments a little personal, because beneath the surface of what people are saying, you can kind of feel the pain a little bit inside the comments. Like it started off with just people trolling, because that was what Twitter used to be. But now when I be reading these comments, I'm like, it's a whole bunch of cries from help, you know what I'm saying? Or cries for help from people, where they feel alone. They feel lonely, and they are in search of a community. But now we're all in this space where it's like, this is what social media is, and we don't even know how to get out of it. There's been times I've caught myself want to just go in on somebody in the comments. It's like, hey, you don't even know this dude. Like, why are you about to go in? Like, you just be wanting to argue with idiots in the comments section. And it's like, all right, man, like, just step away from the comment section. It is what it is, Carol says, I love Kevin's ideology. You know what? And that's interesting, Carol, because I actually would hear, surprisingly, several women that would say that they did get some value out of what it was that he was saying. And that's why I even, like I said, I was never a fan always of the delivery because sometimes it did feel a little mean spirited. But I mean, I ain't gonna say he wasn't dropping dimes, right? Like, I mean, he was saying some stuff that was real sometimes that I know it's hard for people to digest. But um, final thoughts, Sherry. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you as always, like hopping on some spontaneous. This was our spontaneous conversation. I knew I didn't need notes because we just can run. But anything final you want to share?
No, I mean, I think this was a great discussion. I really thank you for bringing me on and letting me listen and engage with your audience. It's amazing. Thank you guys for sharing your comments. The thing I learned from today is just, now I got some questions I got to ask my friends, coming back from this discussion. Like, do you want me to tell if I see your guy out here, you know what I'm saying, in the streets? Because, like, I that's a question I never would have thought to ask my friends or have that conversation. So, I appreciate this conversation so much, just to open my mind to other perspectives. And now I'm a little bit more, I think I got some free game tonight. So thank you so much, Isaac.
I don't even know if I would call it free game. Um, oh, and thank you, Carol, for being involved. Like I said, I always appreciate the interaction. Like that's one of the fun things about having like a show and it be live, right? And so that is one of the things that from show to show, I want us to do more of. Like there will be times where it's like a panel and it's kind of depending upon sometimes when you have too many voices, it becomes hard to juggle it all. But that is the fun thing when you're watching it through like a social media platform is the ability to engage, the ability to share your thoughts, and the ability for us to like grow collectively. So I do appreciate you tuning in, and also Sherry, I do appreciate you for just jumping in. And this is not going to be the last time that they see you because I know that this was last minute, and I know that you were being respectful, to the platform, in terms of like not wanting to like take over, because I know that there are times where when your mind goes down a path, you can really dominate. And so I we'll bring you on again, and the next go round, I'm gonna actually let you run point with the questioning. So I appreciate you. But you guys, listen. Like I was saying a moment ago, this is obviously the digital extension of the Tequila Tales, and one of the things that we always talk about, which is really like our motto, is with love we all have a story to tell, right? But the foundation of what the Tequila Tales is it is a discussion between, like I always say, it's intellectuals with ratchet tendencies, right? But again, what I was saying a moment ago, I think that there is something valuable with us maintaining a capacity to listen to and sometimes absorb different perspectives and different viewpoints, right? We are in a day and age where we have the ability to communicate uh, much more frequently, much greater than we had before. But it feels like we are entering this really strange space where there is, like, just like I said, a complete inability to be able to communicate with one another in a way that allows us to move forward. And I get it. I always say there's three types of people that want to fight, people that want to be right, and people that want to win. And some people really are just invested in the conflict. They love the sport of it. They love the debate. But I mean what I say, that I'm starting to sense something else when I read the comment section. And because of that, it it makes me want to show up a little different. It makes me want to be a little bit more of, um to be used in a more valuable way, to kind of help people to achieve that thing that I think we're all searching for, right? Which is connection. Whether or not we want to admit it, that's why we are on these social media platforms. It's connection. That's why we post. We want people to engage with us, right? Like we are searching for it. And even though the internet exists, it feels like what was supposed to be something to connect us has actually been doing the opposite, right? And, it would be cool if you could just troll a little bit or whatever, but then you logged off and then you went on to your happy life that had fulfilling elements in it. But what I'm starting to understand is happening is, people always say social media ain't real and they try to downplay it. Oh, that's not real. And it's like, it may not be real in its inception, but the residue it leaves is real, right? Like if I'm going into the comments section and the most ridiculous comments somehow has been the ones that the algorithm has shifted towards the top, now I'm questioning society, right? Now I'm thinking, oh, this is how women feel. And sometimes it can be the most absurd perspective. But for whatever reason, these things that mean very little gets this massive amount of attention and then it dominates the conversation, right? Like something like it fascinates me even to watch people with topics like the trans community, and not to go off on a tangent with that, but it's like most people know no one that's a part of this community or interacts with them on a daily basis. And anyone in the trans community is not influencing your world. Yet somehow we've all developed an opinion as to whether or not a trans woman should be able to play in athletics. Why do you care? Are you into women's sports? Do you have a daughter or are you on a team? You know what I'm saying? It's like somehow we have all formulated an opinion on something that has absolutely nothing to do with us, will never affect us, and is so small that percentage wise, it's only happening a few little times, not enough for it to own the kind of bandwidth that it does in our minds. But this is what the internet does, right? It gets us arguing over stupid shit, right? It gets us debating and fighting over things that really has nothing to do with elements that will yield value to us, elements that will make living life more fulfilling, elements that will make you just look forward to interacting with people. And it's like, but that's what the internet does. And that's what social media does, because it's trying to do is just keep your attention. And it doesn't matter how absurd the argument is, it's done for a purpose, right? And like I said, if it was just fun and games, it would be one thing. But when you start to notice that it's affecting the way that we interact with one another, it's affecting people's ability to be able to find love, people's ability to be able to find companionship. That's when I start to say, okay, time out, right? And we need these safe spaces. We need spaces where we can come together collaboratively, sometimes disagree respectfully, but hopefully leave feeling like something got deposited. Hopefully leave with saying that maybe you just heard one thing, and it's not going to come from me. It's going to come from somebody else in the room. It's going to come from another guest. It's going to come possibly from you, right? Like we have the ability to add so much value to one another. That just has to be the goal, right? And it's time for us to start getting back to that as being the goal. Like, what's the purpose of this discussion? What's the purpose of this debate? Is it really so that we can get to a higher level? Is it really so that we can win? Is it really so that we can break through and I don't know, or is it just clout chasing? Is it just I'm selling this product, and so I'm going to say the most absurd thing because I care more about bringing you guys back to my page so I can get the clicks than I do genuinely adding value, right, to people. And so that is what I'm hoping this can continue to be. And it's always a joy to have you all not only tune in, but to continue to be a part of this movement. And so thank you guys. Thank you for watching. And seriously, until the next time.